What kind of player can you expect the Yankees to get now that they just made that move and bringing in the $325 million player in Gerrit Cole?
I don't know the answer to that. I know that in the last 2 years he's become maybe the best pitcher in baseball, arguably. Certainly one of the top five. I can't imagine he's going to digress anytime soon. He's come into his own. He's the type of pitcher I think that not just the Pirates felt, but the rest of the baseball world felt we would see after several years of the big leagues. That's why he was the number one pick in the nation out of UCLA. And I think we also see that's why the Yankees drafted him initially out of high school, because they saw what so many people saw in him. Not only does he have the great stuff, but he's got the drive, which, unfortunately probably too many athletes, or enough anyway, lack that drive to be the best, not just to get to the big leagues, but to be the best there is in the big leagues. And I think that's what Cole is, a guy that's certainly driven, along with that, the great stuff that he possesses on the mound.
Greg, one of the big moves of the Pirates offseason was trading Starling Marte to the Diamondbacks. Personally, I thought they ended up selling a little short on that. They bring in Brennan Malone, who was a first-round pick in 2019, and Leiver Peguero. Do you think that they sold short in this deal, or do you think that these prospects could end up working, and why?
Well, I can only go on what, because I knew nothing about these two guys. I'm not necessarily a prospect-driven broadcaster where other than people in the Pirates system, I try and stay abreast of how they're performing and when the Pirates draft guys. But I didn't know much about either Peguero or Malone, only what I have read since and what I've heard from others, including scouts. And, this is also what I hear, that Ben Cherington is a guy that was known as someone who's unafraid to roll the dice and take some risks, and he's done that with two very young players, but the bar is high, the talent is there. Now, whether the Pirates can get out of either or both what is expected of them, time will tell. I think they were both 19 at the time. I had heard, actually from the former Pirates general manager himself, Neil Huntington. I had a long lunch with him maybe a month after he was let go by the team, and it might have been the day of, in fact. It was the day. It was the day the Pirates traded Starling Marte to the Diamondbacks, and we were at a sports restaurant, and it was on a graphic came up that the Pirates had traded Marte for these two guys, and Neil Huntington said, we were tossing around whether to draft him last year or the guy that we did, which Quinn Priester, I guess it was, the other pitcher. And but we thought very highly of him as well as Priester. So they thought very highly of him last year. Other teams have as well, and it'll be a great trade if Malone ends up being a top of the rotation guy in a couple years, and if Peguero contributes somewhere on the baseball field in the next 3 or 4 years as well.
What player stood out to you last year? And if he's a young player, is he the future star of the organization, or are they looking towards the future of some of the other players in their farm system to be the next superstar? Now that we talked about Gerrit Cole and Starling Marte, is there a player right now in their farm system or on their team right now is the next superstar for the Pittsburgh Pirates?
Well, they've got guys on the big league club right now that have potential to be that, and in fact, that's why many of us, including people in the Pirates organization, were not calling it a rebuild as some so-called pundits, experts were locally and nationally. That just because they traded Marte, all of a sudden it's a rebuild. So no, I believe that there are guys on the team currently. I mean, Josh Bell's first half of last year, if you guys were to go back and look at it, look at the month of May that he had, and it's really interesting once a season ends for a guy like me who's in the stuff every day. It's really hard to take enough time to really absorb each player's performance. You just kind of go, you ride the wave when you're a broadcaster, or a writer, or you cover the team on a daily basis. You knew it was good, but to soak it all in at the end of the year over an off season and look at that month of May, what he did, Ralph Kiner, the former Pirate Hall of Famer many, many years ago, and longtime Mets broadcaster, he set baseball and Pirate records before he was traded in the early 50s, and led the league in home runs, I think, 6 straight years. Josh Bell put up a month of May that would make the late Ralph Kiner blush. It was absolutely incredible, the month of May he had, combined with the April, June, and maybe first few days of July. He was on pace to have a record-setting year. I mean, a top 10, certainly, year in all of baseball. History, I'm talking about. And he admits that leading up to the All-Star break, he started to struggle. He started to press. But what he did over up until at least the first part of July was superstar. I mean, he was in the home run derby. He was in the All-Star game.
Yep.
And people were talking about him being the next Willie Stargell. So it is there with Josh Bell. Brian Reynolds had a great rookie year last year, one of the players the Pirates traded for the Giants organization from in the McCutchen deal. He was he flirted with the batting title up until the last couple weeks of the year. And Kevin Newman finished in the top 10 in hitting in the National League. The Pirates shortstop. In fact, two rookies finished in the top 10 in the National League in hitting for the first time in a 135-year history of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
I didn't know that.
So those are three guys right off the bat that you know, again, there are pieces right now on the Major League team. And we'll see if Ben Cherington and Derek Shelton, the new manager, can add in the next couple of years. Can they get to a point where they are legitimate contenders? I still think if things fall right, which I believe will, I think if and when the season begins, we're looking at what is likely to be an abbreviated year, unlikely to put a 162-game schedule into this, what'll be obviously a short season. And I think that when that comes into play, then all bets are off. I mean, a shortened year allows teams like the Pirates, who aren't considered necessarily top contenders, to maybe flirt with a playoff spot. So I think it'd be an interesting year and an interesting couple of years for this organization. I don't think it's one of those things where they're tearing it down and we're 5 years away from contention. I just don't believe that.
Greg, you actually shadowed nicely into my next question. With the potentially shortened season, how do you think that could affect the development of some of those younger players? You mentioned Newman and Reynolds, who both had very good seasons last year, and then they have 3 top 60 prospects too. Do you think a shortened season or a wacky season like this could affect the development, and if so, how?
Well, nobody knows that answer. Nobody. And so, in fact, I've been asked a lot about what I think the season's going to look like and what's baseball going to do. And I just think it's foolhardy to even make those suggestions. The one thing I will say that is fact-based is that everyone in the country, every baseball player, every baseball team, organization, minor league team, will be faced with the exact same thing. So if the development is slowed and dwarfed to a degree, then the Pirates are no worse off than the Red Sox, Dodgers, Mets, Yankees, Astros, every team in baseball.
Interesting.
They'll all be, unfortunately, affected, maybe to the player's detriment, maybe not. We don't know. We've never seen anything like this. But the closest thing we've had to this particular moment in baseball history, as I can say,
1939, right?
Is 1981, when they missed something like 35, something like that, 35% of the baseball season because of a mid-season strike. The players struck, I think, in the first week in June, and the thing wasn't settled until first week in August. And so there were players from the big leagues to the low level of the minors that were impacted by that long layoff. I guess more so the major league, because the minor leagues didn't strike. But the point being that even young players at the big league level were certainly affected by the long layoff. But, we don't know. I don't know if we'll ever know truly what impact a delay, we don't even know how long the delay will be, what impact that will have on these players. I would think that most players, in fact, I saw Josh Bell did a video yesterday about what he's doing.
I saw that.
Okay, so he's in Pittsburgh, and he's working with whatever equipment he has, push-ups, sit-ups. He's doing whatever, everything possible that he can do and to try and stay sharp. Well, Are there players, or I don't know the answer to this. I would think this is not the case, but are there players just saying the heck with it? I'm not even going to do that much because my gym is shut down and I can't get to my personal trainer, and I'll just wait. I find that hard to believe. These players are all driven, but maybe the guys that go the extra mile in these uncertain times, maybe they end up being ahead of the game when the game does resume. We'll find out.
We are talking to the voice of the Pittsburgh Pirates, Greg Brown. Greg, if you can tell me one thing about the Pirates fans, what would that be?
One thing about the Pirates fans.
One thing about the Pirates fans that you either love, you hate, or you just... You talk about it because you know all about the Philadelphia fans. Here in New York, the New York fans hate Philadelphia fans. So I've never been to Pittsburgh at a baseball game, so I've heard the stadium over there. I've never even been to PNC Park, which I heard is one of the nicest stadiums
it is.
in baseball. And I always wanted to go and check out the stadium over there. But how are the fans over there? Are they fun? Are they energetic? Are they crazy?
Well, they are as energetic and as passionate as any fan base in the country, and I've said it time and time again because I've had interesting roles over my many years before broadcasting. When I went to Buffalo and did minor league baseball and Buffalo Bills football, I was actually in the Pirate front office for years doing some broadcast directing, some broadcast coordinating, some marketing, PR work, and most of my adult life has been as a resident of Pittsburgh, and I've said it forever that Pittsburgh really is no different than every other fan base. That
Really?
includes New York, includes Philadelphia, Chicago, LA, San Francisco, doesn't matter. They are passionate about their sports teams, and they want the team to win. And so Pittsburgh's no different. The Pirate fans, I said forever, guys, that at Three River Stadium for 30 years, the Pirates played from 1970 till 2000. They played in a football stadium, 56,000 people, bowl stadium, which was great for the Steelers. And though the Pirates drew well when they went to the playoffs in 1990, 91, 92, it still wasn't the same. The Pirates weren't playing in their own ballpark. And I said then, and I certainly say it now, that Pittsburgh will show its true colors. The fans will, the Pirate fans will, when we play in a baseball-only ballpark and we win. And that combination happened finally after 20 years of losing in 2013 when they went to the playoffs for the first time in 20 years. And that night, the wild card game of October 1st, 2013, Pirates and Reds, was the coming out party for the town, the region, the fan base. It showed a nation what I was talking about, that they loved their Pirates. They needed a place to play, and they needed a winner. And so many people, even to this day, have said, and I'm talking about pedestrian fans, not hardcore, just basic fans of sports, who went to that game that night and said it was the greatest sporting event they'd ever been to, and that includes Super Bowls and Stanley Cups. That one game wild card playoff between the Pirates and the Reds. The Pirates won that. They went on to the division series against the Cardinals. They drew well over 2 million people those 3 straight years when they won, and so it's really no different. And people kind of get upset sometimes when I say that this town is not they say it's a Steelers town, it's a hockey town, it's a football town. No. This is no different than any other city in the country. It's a winner's town.
That's right.
People come out when your team wins. When your team loses, you have trouble filling the seats in any sport and in any city. And I have done enough research over many years to prove that point, that if you lose, and I'm talking substantially, you're not going to have people come out and see you play. If you win, they'll come out and see you play. And that's what happened those years, and it will happen again for the Pirates.